2026 might be the year humanity stops looking at the sky and finally starts living in it. Rockets are launching every week. Humans are going back to the moon. And for the first time in history, space is no longer science fiction. It's becoming normal. For decades, space felt distant, untouchable, something we only saw in movies or documentaries, a place for astronauts and scientists, but never for ordinary people. Yet quietly, while most of us were busy with our daily routines, a new space age began rising in the background. Launch costs dropped, technology improved, private companies entered the race, and suddenly, what once sounded impossible started to feel inevitable. So the real question is no longer if we will return to space, but how soon space will become part of everyday life, and 2026 might be the turning point that changes everything. There are rare moments in history when progress doesn't move step by step, but leaps forward all at once, moments when the future arrives faster than anyone expected, like the first airplane, the first computer, or the first human footprint on the moon. And now we may be standing at the edge of another leap, not because of one invention, but because many breakthroughs are happening at the same time. Rockets that land themselves, spacecraft built by private companies, telescopes that can see planets light years away, and artificial intelligence analyzing the universe faster than any human team ever could. All of these changes are colliding in the same decade, creating something that feels less like gradual improvement and more like an explosion of possibility. For most of human history, the sky was just a ceiling full of lights, beautiful but unreachable. Our ancestors looked at the stars with curiosity, but also with distance. They could imagine traveling there, but had no tools to make it real. Then in just the last 60 years, everything changed. We built rockets, we escaped gravity, we walked on another world, and for a short moment, it seemed like we would conquer space quickly, that by the year 2000, we would already have cities on the moon and missions to Mars. But instead, progress slowed down. Missions became rare, budgets shrank, and humans stayed close to Earth for decades, orbiting only a few hundred kilometers above the surface, as if the great adventure had quietly paused. But the pause didn't mean failure, it meant preparation, because during those quiet decades, technology kept improving behind the scenes. Computers became smaller and thousands of times more powerful. Materials became lighter and stronger. Software became smarter. And engineers kept solving problems that once seemed impossible, until finally one idea changed everything. Reusable rockets, instead of throwing away a rocket after every launch like a disposable tool, companies learned how to land them safely and fly them again. And this single change reduced the cost of space travel dramatically, turning something that only governments could afford into something that many organizations could attempt. And when the cost of something drops, experimentation increases. And when experimentation increases, innovation accelerates. Today, rockets don't launch once or twice a year. They launch constantly, sometimes every week, carrying satellites, research equipment, and supplies into orbit. And each launch teaches engineers something new, making the next one cheaper and safer, until space slowly transforms from a rare event into a routine operation, like commercial flights across the planet. And once access becomes routine, the imagination of what is possible expands, because suddenly you are not asking, can we send something to space? You are asking, what should we send next? And this is where 2026 becomes important, because several major projects that have been developing for years are finally coming together, humans preparing to travel around the moon again for the first time in more than half a century. New lunar landers being tested, stations planned for orbit, commercial spacecraft designed not just for astronauts, but for researchers and private missions. All signals that we are entering a phase where space is not only for exploration, but also for long-term presence. And the moon is the first step, not because it is easy, but because it is close enough to teach us how to survive somewhere that is not Earth, how to build habitats, recycle air and water, manage radiation, and operate in lower gravity, lessons that will later be essential for deeper missions. At the same time, our eyes are becoming sharper than ever before. Modern telescopes are not simply taking pictures of stars. They are analyzing entire worlds, detecting planets around distant suns, measuring their sizes, their temperatures, even the chemistry of their atmospheres. And this is something that would have sounded like pure fantasy only a few decades ago. Today, scientists have confirmed thousands of exoplanets, thousands of other worlds scattered across the galaxy, some rocky like Earth, some massive like Jupiter, some orbiting close to their stars, and others drifting in darkness. And every new telescope adds hundreds more to the list, which quietly changes how we see our place in the universe. Because when planets are everywhere, Earth stops looking like the only stage in existence and starts looking like one world among many. Then there is artificial intelligence, perhaps the most silent revolution of all. Space missions produce more data than any human team could ever fully analyze. Millions of images, signals, measurements, numbers flowing every second. And for years, much of this data remained unexplored simply because there were not enough scientists to study it all. But now AI systems can scan enormous databases in minutes, detect patterns, highlight anomalies, and even suggest discoveries, acting like powerful assistants that never get tired. And this partnership between human curiosity and machine efficiency means we are finding things faster than ever before. Asteroids we missed, new galaxies, unusual signals, subtle changes that might have taken years to notice in the past. Some people still ask, why invest so much in space when there are problems on Earth? And it sounds logical at first, but history tells a different story because almost every technology developed for space ends up improving life here. Satellites enable GPS navigation, weather forecasting, global communication, disaster monitoring, and fast internet connections. Medical sensors, lightweight materials, advanced batteries, all of these were pushed forward by space research. So exploring space doesn't take resources away from Earth, it often brings new solutions back, making everyday life safer, faster, and more connected. But beyond technology, there is something deeper, something psychological. Humans have always moved toward the horizon, crossing oceans, climbing mountains, exploring unknown lands, not only for survival, but because curiosity is part of our nature. We want to know what is out there. We want to test our limits, and space is simply the next horizon, the largest one we have ever faced, and perhaps the most challenging. Yet, for the first time, it no longer feels unreachable. It feels like an engineering problem waiting to be solved. So when you look up at the night sky now, it is no longer just decoration. It is a map of future destinations, real places that machines, and maybe soon people will visit regularly. And if all these trends continue, reusable rockets, lunar missions, private stations, powerful telescopes, artificial intelligence, then the coming years may transform space from a dream into infrastructure. Something normal, something that supports daily life, something we depend on without even thinking about it. And maybe one day we will look back at this period and realize that this was the moment everything shifted, the moment humanity stopped treating space like a distant fantasy and started treating it like the next environment to live and work in, not overnight, not dramatically, but gradually, launch after launch, mission after mission, step by step until leaving Earth becomes as ordinary as boarding a plane. And when that happens, the meaning of distance changes. The meaning of borders changes, and even the way we see ourselves changes, because we will no longer be just people on one planet. We will be a civilization capable of moving beyond it. So perhaps 2026 will not just be another year on the calendar. Perhaps it will be remembered as the year the next chapter truly began, the year the sky stopped being a limit and started becoming a destination. And when the next rocket rises through the clouds, carrying humans farther than they have gone in decades, it will not only be a launch, it will be a message, a quiet reminder that exploration never really ended. It was only waiting. And now, after all this time, it is beginning again.